All right.
So in episode 13, Derek posed a question, and we made like a contest out of it. We said that whoever could give the best answer to this question would win $100 or more. So we have 12 subscribers and only one attempt to answer the question, and it wasn't quite right, so nobody really won. But anyway, we'll get to the question was, what does it look like for someone who doesn't know that they're not free? And anyway, so I gave a clue a couple of weeks ago that it's in John chapter 9. And the perfect answer is,
Yeah, so Jesus said, "For judgment I came into the world, that those who do not see may see, and those who see may become blind." Some of the Pharisees near him heard these things and said to him, "Are we also blind?" Jesus said to them, "If you were blind, you would have no guilt. But now that you say, 'We see,' your guilt remains."
and that's deep. So they don't even know that they're not free because they're
Right.
blind. They
They're
think
blind.
they're not, but they
Yeah, they can't see the fact that due to their own self-righteousness of what's good and evil, what's right or wrong, are you doing it right or wrong, they can't see that to access this kingdom, you have to first become blind.
and there you have it.
Yep. All right. I'm Derek.
And I'm Charles.
Welcome to
More. So, if you're new to this channel, maybe you're not, maybe you are. We like to talk about things that help us move from the natural to the spiritual. We walk by faith, not by sight. We want to renew our minds, be transformed by the renewing of our minds, so that we can live a kingdom life here on earth, and that's what we're all about.
And like the previous week, we talked about principles and how Jesus would teach using these principles. And he's in this constant state of unlocking us due to these data points that create our realities. And he's just simply coming to free us. So this is one of those key ones where we think we're heading in the right direction, but because we're leaning unto our own understanding versus his, our judgment gets skewed.
Yeah, and I think it's like for them, I think it's a case of them living off of sight data, living in the natural.
Right.
They are really steeped in it, but they have it down pat. They have all the rules, all the laws. They know it backwards and forward, and they just cannot move to the faith side.
But woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for you shut the kingdom of heaven in people's faces. For you neither enter in yourselves nor allow those who would enter to go in. Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for you travel across the sea and land to make a single proselyte, and when he becomes a proselyte, you make him twice as much a child of hell as yourselves.
That's sad. Yeah.
Yeah. So
and that happens a lot, and it's happening now with a lot of people. Follow a lot of people, and
right. And this is...
And that's something we don't want to do. We always point back to Jesus.
To Christ, yeah.
It's not us. We're not leading anybody anywhere.
Yep.
We're just talking about our experience and point back to Christ.
Back to Christ, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's a beautiful process when you begin to grasp it, because Jesus talks about the student becoming the teacher. So these guys, they thought they had it right. They thought they had everything, and they had a lot. I mean, they had the law of Moses, and that was a very important dynamic for the nation of Israel.
For positioning them for the coming of Christ.
Coming of Christ, yeah. And as a nation, they were promised to be a kingdom of priests. So they had the promises of God. They had this personal relationship, but over time, they kind of lost the main dynamic, which is faith, and they turned into this legalistic.
The power transferred to them.
Right. Yep.
And they became hierarchical, and they had the power, and
Mm-hmm.
and they thought they knew it,
They knew it, yeah.
and when they did in the natural.
Oh, yeah.
And then
But it became a crutch. It became a hindrance to them, and as it says, they could not open up the kingdom of heaven. They're basically opening up
the kingdom of hell.
the kingdom of hell. So Christ came to expose that, and for those who had hearts that were open to hear the message, they could see the error. And then those who couldn't, they just kind of continued on, and some of them, hopefully throughout their walk, came to it, and then some may not. But, to access this kingdom is by faith. You can't walk by sight. And the Pharisees and Sadducees were walking by sight. They were cleansing the outer portion of their bodies, but they never dealt with their heart. Their hearts were far from God. Their hearts were not open to see and be able to walk with Him. So Christ is coming in a way to unlock and open people's eyes. And this is one of the principles that really allows us to consider. Are we walking with the natural eye making conclusions, or are we walking with the eyes of our heart and allowing God to put His laws in our heart and transform us? And then that's now what animates us. For the love of Christ, Paul says, controls us, versus us trying to control others and putting legalities on them. And now, as you put those legalities on of good and evil, when you eat from that tree, you shall surely die. So you don't physically die, but you experience a spiritual disconnection. So this is what Christ came to do, was connect us, bring us back into the kingdom, give us the consciousness and awareness that we're His children. And it's a beautiful relationship.
I wonder if they thought they were operating with the eyes of the heart, but those eyes were blinded by the pride of life.
Oh, yes.
So it's like, because they were religious men.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I'm sure they had faith in who God was.
Yes.
And they really thought they were operating with the eyes of the heart, but they were just blinded by the pride of life, because they have position. It's always I. It's like, I'm clean. I followed the law.
Right.
I stand here. My faith, my religious standards is here.
What I've accomplished.
I've accomplished
So
this.
Paul said what? Paul said, hey, I was a Pharisee of
A Pharisee of Sadducee.
a Pharisee of Pharisee. He had this long list. He had this awesome resume. And at the end of it, once he converted from Saul into Paul, that resume he counted as dung, as worthless.
So it's like his eyes of his heart, the veil was removed.
Yep.
Or that pride of life
Yep.
was stripped from it,
Stripped
so
away.
he could really see.
Yes, and he was an example of what would have to happen to those Pharisees and Sadducees to convert them over.
And it had to take Jesus to do it.
Yeah.
Because there was no stopping Saul.
Oh man, that dude was murdering folks.
He was like a train on the track. You weren't going to knock him off those rails.
Oh yeah, no, he had a zeal for God.
Yeah.
He was a zealot.
Yes.
He loved God, and then when, on the road to Damascus, Christ came down and asked him,
Why do you persecute me?
"Why are you persecuting me?" And he was like, "Whoa,
I'm not. I'm doing your work."
there you go.
No, you're not.
No, you're not. And that's yeah, and that's the beauty.
And that's what he's telling them, really, in that one verse that
right.
you said. Yeah.
Yeah. So
My question would be, do you believe that you're operating with the eyes of your heart? Is there anything that's shielding it? I think we should all think very hard on that and see if there's any pride of life that's holding us back. Just like Saul, he was doing the best. He was the top of the Pharisees. He was up there. But it wasn't right, and Jesus exposed that to him, and he was able to see and convert.
and transform. Yep.
And these Pharisees, they're saying, "Are you saying we're blind?" And Jesus saying, "You're the one saying you can see."
See. And now that you say you can see, your sin remains.
Yeah.
So, really, like you said, turn, look within, ask yourself,
Can you really see?
can you really see? Is your judgment true judgment? Or are you judging in regards to your own righteousness as to what you deem to be good or bad, evil? Just like the Pharisees were saying, hey, we see, you know, you can't be healing people on the Sabbath day. Like, who does that?
Yeah.
You know, you're doing the work of
Beelzebub.
Yeah. You know. So if there's, any questions or
Comments.
anything, yeah, hit us up.
And while you're at it, subscribe, like, comment, email us at
Cite the Spirit.
yes,
So until next time, love, joy, peace,
patience, kindness, goodness,
faithfulness, gentleness,
self-control.
self-control.